What's up, guys? It's Josh back with SobrietyWoD. If it's your first time, welcome, and if you're back, welcome back. Today I have a little quote at the top of your sheet, so I'm just going to read it to kind of start off the discussion. But it reads that though our decision was a vital and crucial step, talking about the decision to turn over our will and lives, basically to stop doing what we were doing, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. And I've been listening to like a lot of speaker tapes and stuff lately, and a lot of things are referring to this hole that we kind of feel inside and that we feel this need to fill. And I grew up going to Christian school, and they would talk about the same idea. And I remember identifying with that even way back then, like this feeling that something wasn't right. I know a big part of it now is my alcoholism, my addiction, but it's still that idea that there's a hole that needs to be filled. It's that feeling. And the process of recovery that I've been through, the spiritual process of recovery, or a spiritual solution to recovery, works a lot different than how we thought oftentimes it should work, or how even like the world or commercialism kind of deals with problems. And I think about one of the things I hate commercials. Like I hate pop-ups on my internet. I don't even have cable because I can't stand to be bombarded with this idea that, hey, you're missing something and you need something to feel better. I can't stand that, but I used to do that and still do that to myself on a regular basis. This idea that there's this hole and I need to cram something in it to feel better. I think it's a pretty common thing. It's the easiest thing to do, right? It's easier to get more stuff or start something new than it is to look at the possibility that maybe there's something I already have that's causing the problem. And as I was writing this, I was kind of thinking about a picture of, the hole is real. The feeling of the hole is real. And I can't just make myself not feel like there's a hole or try to convince somebody else that there's not a hole. We feel that feeling. We know it's real. But this idea that the stuff that I'm trying to fill the hole with is not actually filling the hole. And most of us know what that feels like. The more we get, the more we try, the more empty we feel. And kind of the picture that I got was this idea of all the things that I was using to try to fill the hole actually were just creating a dam to the resource that would fill the hole if the dam wasn't there. I don't know if that makes sense, but all these things that I was piling in, I found out were actually blocking a resource that was already available. And so this part of the book that talks about removing things that were blocking us has this completely different component to it. This idea of maybe there's some things I'm holding on to. Maybe there's some ideas and some beliefs and some habits that I'm holding on to that are preventing the hole from being filled, rather than what is some new things that I can use to fill this hole. And in my experience, as I started to pull things out or move things out of the way, that hole began to be filled on its own. So it's just an interesting way to think about it. For the discussion, I want you guys just to talk about your experience with that hole and your experience with trying to fill that hole. And not even necessarily just drugs and alcohol, but what are some other things that you might, even as a kid growing up, that you might have clung to or try to grab a hold onto to try and fill that hole. And then just what was your experience with that? And then if you have had that experience of removing that thing and feeling that hole filled, just kind of talk about that, and talk about how removing the block is a different thing than trying to fill that hole. So you guys kind of talk about that. Hope you have a good discussion. We'll be right back with the fitness portion.